Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. This is our WWE show for the week. My name is George Coles and finally back my tag team partner Mo.
Thanks, Mabel. Gary Rhodes, everybody. See, I even did the whole men on a mission thing.
There you go.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Mabel.
Anyway, we start the night off with Alberto Del Rio celebrating his win from the pay-per-view, winning the World Championship from Ziggler.
And I know you were really hyped on that because it was a really good double turn.
Oh yeah, it was a well-executed double turn. Del Rio wrestled like a heel, got the fans to start cheering Ziggler, which they have been off and on anyway. But I thought it was perfect. When you pull off there's some double turns that have been pulled off and you're like, okay, whatever. But this was good. I mean, it wasn't Bret Hart Stone Cold good, but it was good.
I think it was good. In the promo he's cutting here before Punk comes out, I really like that because he's explained to the fans how, for 5 months I did for you, and then what do you give me in return? Cheering for Ziggler to come out and take my belt from me.
And then he talks about being the best, which brings out CM Punk.
Best in the world.
Who challenges him for later on in the night. Heyman tries to stop him, but Punk says, Paul, I'm going to do it. I got to do what I got to do. And then after the break, they show him in the back, and Punk says, Paul, look, you're not my manager. We're just friends. I don't want you coming to the ring with me anymore. And then they hug and go their separate ways.
Amicable.
Amicable. That's the biggest word you've ever said on our show.
No. Up next is our first match of the night is the return of one of my all-time favorites, Christian, versus Wade Barrett, which the night before lost the Intercontinental title.
To one of your new favorites.
Oh, he's one of my favorites. Well, his dad, so he inherited his dad's spot. But anyways...
not his dog spot?
Not his liver spot. You remember the... Anyways, Barrett, to me, seems this was the guy the WWE was so high on, and now he's like their jobber du jour. Would you agree?
It happens, though. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see him win Money in the Bank later on, because that's usually what they do. They try to bury him, and then they win Money in the Bank all of a sudden.
Kind of the surprise.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Christian wins in a fairly one-sided match, which brings us up to our next match, which when they put it on, I was going to be pissed off. It was the Rhodes Scholars against Sheamus.
And you figure it was going to be Sheamus getting over on both of them.
Yeah, I figured he was going to get over on both of them, and it was going to piss me off because you got two good young talents. Why waste them like that? But you got Sandow gets the roll-up pin on Sheamus and rolls out of the ring, leaving Cody to take the brogue kick after the match. I thought it was decent. I liked it. I kind of like it to help split the Rhodes Scholars up. That Sandow's doing his own thing, kind of deal. Hopefully it leads to bigger or better things. Hopefully one of these two can win the other Money in the Bank.
It'd be nice. Another guy I'd like to see win the Money in the Bank, or at least be in a title picture here pretty soon, which I think he will be. We were talking about earlier. Daniel Bryan faced Randy Orton.
Yeah, in a very weird ending match. Comes out that Daniel Bryan actually suffered a stinger, and they legit stopped the match early, which if you were watching, Orton actually helped him up and helped him to the back of the thing. To me, when I watched it, I honestly thought it was fake and it was a BS ending. Trying to show that he's a weak link kind of deal. But when you find out that he really was potentially injured, I know it's not going to be popular, but I appreciate the fact that they're looking out for wrestlers, especially after what's happening with guys like Chris Benoit, and some of these other guys that have become addicted to pain medications because they're wrestling injured. They tried to stop a guy from becoming more injured.
You gotta respect that. Well, they're also looking at their investment too.
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan, I think, has one of the brightest futures in the WWE right now. I don't see too many people that are going to go the heights that Daniel Bryan's going to go, just the way the fans are behind him. Do you? I see there's superstars and mega stars in the making, but there's something special about Daniel Bryan.
We've talked about this in the past. I don't know if we brought it up on the show. I talked about it a little bit with the Masked Tweeter when I went on the IWX show with him. When I talked with him on his show. Does this, and this is what you're talking about here, does it feel like 96 again, where you had this groundswell of these new upcoming talents right before the Attitude Era hit?
Well, we actually had this conversation on the show a little while back too. You had the 96 influx, or the 96 time and the 2002 time. The 2002 brought
Well, but this feels more like the 96 time, where Brian's
it's getting more of that feel.
Brian's going to be the Stone Cold of this, and then the other guys like the Shield, the Bray Wyatts.
I think it's getting to that point now since the Bray Wyatts are coming out, and next to the Shield's getting huge. For the longest time, I was kind of impressed that it was like the 2002 feel, but it's getting to more to the 96 feel.
Where it's going to be a momentum shift.
Exactly, and that's what the business needs right now.
I think is the second they hand the WWE title, the big title, to Daniel Bryan, the ratings are gonna blow through the roof.
I think so too. Just the same thing as if they would have gave Punk free reign, I think it would have went through the roof also.
I like Punk a lot. Don't get me wrong. I'm just not a disparagement against Punk. I think Daniel Bryan has a more mainstream appeal than
he does.
Punk does.
He does. He's
technically a clean cut.
Well, that's what I was going to say. He's a clean cut guy, but he can wrestle. He can go out there and he can put on a show. But he can also do promos and everything like that, which makes him. He could be a face of the company, a future face.
Punk's your smart ass fans.
Yes.
Where Daniel Bryan's someone the kids can like as well. CM Punk is too. Don't get me wrong, but I think Daniel Bryan has a more global appeal than CM Punk.
Yeah, anybody but Cena, really. I mean, I'm just tired of Cena. We'll talk about Cena later on, too.
You know what I wasn't tired of?
What's that?
AJ Lee and Stephanie McMahon.
Oh, your future wife and whoever AJ Lee is.
Yeah, future on the side.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
And you got Caitlyn, too, in this situation also.
Yeah, you can have her.
Caitlyn Nipple Slip. What was her last name? Caitlyn Nipple Slip.
Does Caitlyn, honest question, does Caitlyn look like Linda Hamilton circa Terminator 2 to you?
Yeah, but I tell you what, I've seen some of her pictures when she was doing her bodybuilding career, and she's hot now compared to that.
No,
I don't think she's an ugly woman, but I'm just saying, like then she looked like.
When you look at her, don't she look like
Bass? Remember
Nicole Bass?
Nicole Bass?
No, she's not that.
But no, back in the day. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Not a face, but anyways.
Speaking of Bass, we had two girls with amazing asses, AJ and Stephanie. Probably setting up a future feud. Hopefully, they don't follow TNA and Stephanie's in charge of the Divas division, like Brooke is in charge of the Knockouts. But I like when Stephanie dressed down Caitlyn before Caitlyn attacked AJ too. I've always enjoyed the Stephanie McMahon character, and I've always thought she was one of the hottest women in wrestling.
Yeah. Well, we go to the next match.
Speaking of hot,
Kane, one of my all-time favorites, versus Dean Ambrose, one of my new favorites.
One of them guys that we were just talking about bubbling up to.
No, I see big things in Ambrose's future. At least a world championship run. At least.
Well, he's easily going to be one of the future pillars of the company.
I see it. I mean, the guys are, the promo ability, his in-ring ability, and the guy's double tough.
Like Arn Anderson?
But you don't see that too much anymore. You know what I'm saying? You watch some of his old matches and shit, and you're like, man, this guy's a tough son of a bitch. But he can look fan-friendly for the kids, and that's a big helper.
I think he's easily going to be that Rowdy Piper role in the future.
He might not have a lot of title runs in his future, but I think they're going to be,
legendary.
Exactly.
Wait for it.
Legend. Wait for it.
Legend Gary.
The living legend, Gary Zabisco.
You know what, Gary? Let's just go on our question.
There you go. That's what I try to bring it into.
Now, the question last week was, and it was fueled by a comment we had that said I look like Jake Milliman, or no, what did he say? He said I look not Jake Milliman, Crusher Blackwell, Jerry Blackwell.
Yeah, Jerry Blackwell, yeah.
So we thought we'd have fun with it. We asked you guys what you thought that we both look like. We're going to go with our friend Lou from the Deadly Sins. He said, I would say Gary looks like Taz, and George looks like the one-man gang. I think I more look like Akeem, but That's just because I took it back to deepest, darkest Africa.
Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't.
I had to get the yellow eraser hat.
Da, 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 da. Sorry, now I got a song stuck in my head. Thanks.
But why don't you go ahead and say what you think I look like?
Well, you know, if for years everybody's even thought it, dude, you look like Mick Foley. After he fell through the hell himself, of course, but Mick Foley nonetheless.
I still got most of my teeth.
There you go. At least that's one of us that does.
There you go. And, you know, for Gary, this one's a hard one. Because how do you say, like, a living penis? Now, I've always kind of thought you look like a cross between Lance Storm and Buff Bagwell.
Can I be serious for a minute?
And you're buffing the stuff?
Sorry. Anyways.
Yeah, you know. Let's bring this big boss man mixed in.
We're going to serve a hard time. Anyways. Let's bring to this week's question of the week.
Now the question week for this week is what have you liked more as far as television wise, the 2 months leading up to WrestleMania or the 2 months since WrestleMania? Let us know what you think. Hit us up on our Facebook, hit us up on our Twitter, put it down where?
Down there.
Down there in the comments.
Boom, all that mofo.
The show was so much better when I did it by myself.
Yeah,
Now going back to the actual show, we had Zeb Coulter announcing that he has a new client or stable member, and it's Antonio Cesaro.
I think it's perfect. I really do.
Perfect wrestles in the main event.
But anyways, I think that this is we were talking
died like 10 years ago.
Anyways, yeah. Anyways, I think these two are the perfect heel manager team combination.
I like it because the perceived inequities of Cesaro is he's not a great talker, but Zeb Coulter is one of the all-time great talkers.
And you got the heel manager that really doesn't stand behind the words he speaks.
Yeah.
You know, he's pro-American, and who's he managing?
Well, he's anti-immigration. I kind of found it a little bit funny. It kind of had a little bit of a racist undertone to it because he's anti-Mexican, but he's not anti the white European. Just saying.
It led into a decent short match between Cesaro and William Regal.
Another white European.
There you go. Another guy that's also, in his career, has been one of the most awesome heels and one of the most technically gifted wrestlers of all time, too.
It's a shame he's never got a run with one of the big titles.
Yeah, but it's cool that Vince keeps him around, you know, and he's great. If I was one of the guys in the back and I was one of the kids, as 20-something years old kids that are, fresh out of college and wanting to wrestle and shit like that, that's the guy whose ear I'd be chewing off to get as much knowledge as I could.
Well, I mean, he's a wealth of knowledge. He's been wrestling for 30 years. And
yeah, he's in his 40s.
Yeah, he's been wrestling since he was 15, so. And he still looks he looks great in the ring. He looked great with Cesaro.
This is the guy that they should have, like, remember back in the day when they would hire somebody and they'd put Tom Pritchard in a ring with them, show him the ropes? This would be one of the perfect guys when you're hired in. Say, okay, let's see what you got, kid. And put him in there with Regal. Because Regal can adapt to different styles.
You know what I think they should do? Remember when Regal had that little bit on ECW when he managed Ezekiel Jackson and I think Kozlov as well?
Mm-hmm.
They should bring him back as a manager since they are going back with managers.
Oh, he'd be a great manager. He'd been great for Cesaro, to be honest with you. But I like Coulter, and I think Coulter's going to be great for Cesaro.
Oh, I think it's going to be absolutely great.
Cesaro's strength is, we were talking about the whole chokehold he put on Regal.
Yeah, the swinging headlock.
I'm surprised that's flying with Vince.
Yeah.
But you know what? It was a great match, right into the neutralizer. Boom, Cesaro gets a good win on television. Quick one, too, at that.
You know what we had up next?
That's what I do.
It's a neutral promo because one of them absolutely sucked. And then the other one was absolutely tremendous. The first part was John Cena talking about he had a bad year, he's having a great year now, that come see him, whatever. Same old shit, basically.
Right.
Which brings out Mark Henry, who all night through Twitter, and through backstage stuff has looked like he's going to retire. They played up that he's going to retire. He comes out, he says, "No, John, I'm not out here to attack you or anything. I just came out here to retire. Why don't you sit over there? You know, you're one of my friends. You should hear this too." Goes into his whole spiel, starts crying, brings up he misses his daughter, misses his kids, misses his wife. Even breaks character when a fan yells Mae Young. He says, "Not Mae Young, stupid." But he gave it a real feel. He cried. And, I mean, there was a good minute or two that I really thought it was real, especially when Cena came back in. And I have to give it to Cena. He sold it really well when he came back in and gave Mark Henry the WWE Championship, and Mark held it for a little bit and said, "You know, I can't have this. I never won it." You know, kind of like in hockey, where the tradition is you don't touch the Stanley Cup unless you win it.
Exactly.
So he gave it back, but then at the end, Cena goes to raise his hand, catches the world's strongest slam. That's what I do!
This instance is what Facebook and Twitter should be used for with these wrestlers. Not talking about their tweets and their, what do you call it, what's that shit, the touts and all that stupid stuff. This is what they should be using it for, because you're selling a storyline for free. You know, God knows how many people saw all these Twitter remarks, all these Facebook remarks all day before this happened. You know, get people prepared. Because, I mean, you know, you might not watch wrestling anymore, and you kind of remember Mark Henry from back in the day. You're like, man, I'll put it on there to see Mark in the ring the last time, you know. You're bringing more fans in that way by using Twitter, Facebook, all these multimedia, whatever you call it. Social media craps.
That's what you do!
Exactly. And that's what it's there for, and they used it finally on something great.
Exactly. It was amazing. The funny thing was he was sweating out of his eyeballs.
Yeah.
Which was a first, because he usually sweats out everything else.
Exactly. But I really enjoyed that segment, though. Would you say that was the best Mark Henry's ever done? Because, I mean, he was great. He
was amazing. I loved it. These last 3 years of Mark Henry's career have been absolutely amazing. His first 10 years, 15 years, whatever it was, from 96 to probably about 2010, 2009, he was so-so at best, but ever since they gave him the ECW world title, he's been absolutely one of the best heels.
He's been wishy-washy, you know what I'm saying? Because they'll have him healed and have him babyface, have him heel. I think the smartest thing they did was when he put him back from Raw, when he was MVP's partner as a babyface, and they turned him heel to go back to SmackDown. I think that was something that was very good. You know, he's a better heel than a face, and that's what they finally realized.
That's what he do.
That's what he do. That's what he do. That's right.
Anyway, speaking of wrestlers from the 90s, we had Y2J versus Heath Slater. I think this was a kind of a, like you do the home run, throw you off a softball Y2J so you can get a win, because he's been losing rather a lot on TV lately.
He has been, but I mean, he's not there to. He's in the business because he loves the business, and he loves helping out the younger talent, like Punk, like the work he did with Ziggler. I think. Well, yeah, but you know, I think the work he did with Ziggler was some of the best work he's done, because he really made that kid a main eventer. I mean, I think the kid was on the cusp of it for years, but after that little stint he had with Jericho, I think that's what turned him into a main eventer.
And speaking of main events, we had our main event of the night. An Intercontinental World... No, it was a...
Pre-main event. It was the match
pre-main event. Well, you know, the Intercontinental Champion's never been that important. Ever. We had Curtis Axel versus Sin Cara. I don't know why they keep putting them up against Sin Cara. I guess they work well together. It wasn't a bad match. It really wasn't.
No, you know, I think
the Sin Cara lighting's gotta fucking go though.
Well, because you're taking away. Axel's the main eventer compared to you. You don't get the lighting.
Preferential treatment.
Exactly. I think maybe Axel knows how to speak Spanish, and they've been putting Sin Cara with a lot of Spanish-speaking wrestlers to help him out. Call the matches.
I think that's why Sin Cara botches so much, to be perfectly honest with you. Because he wasn't a botch machine in Mexico.
No.
He was one of the top wrestlers in Mexico, but you put him in low lighting when he has a screen over his eyes. I don't care. you know, he could see through that mask. But if you worn a Halloween mask even, where you could see through like that, you still see it darker.
Exactly. I think they should get rid of the lining, do something different with the mask.
Well, the mask is fine.
Well, I don't know, something different. I mean, just something different.
I like the look of the mask. To be honest with you, I liked it. It's kind of got a little bit of the Mystico mask.
How did you like the DDT?
You know, I think it was a little bit of a botch on the sell on it, but at least it wasn't his normal win by count.
There you go.
You know what was funny? Someone put on Wikipedia finishing move count out. He's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 kid. Thanks, Lou. That was for you.
That's nice. Anyways, now we'll go to the main event. Alberto Del Rio versus CM Punk.
For the World Heavyweight Championship.
Was the title on the line?
Yeah. No.
I think the title was on the line.
But it was a darn good match, and then ADR tries to run away and gets jumped by Dolph Ziggler.
Which makes him look like a stronger face.
Yeah. When the crowd goes apeshit when Ziggler attacked him.
And then Bork Laser comes out.
Yeah. And hits the, he cut the best promo I've ever seen him cut. He grabs the microphone, goes right to the F5.
Boom.
There we go. No Paul Heyman, so I imagine that Paul Heyman's going to deny responsibility.
Well, what I see they're going to do here is, because they're not going to have this match till SummerSlam, so there's going to be a lot of promos cut in between the two of them until the SummerSlam match happens. So he'll probably be working a lot more with Axel. So I think that's why they're just throwing him with Sakara here and there, getting him ready for someone that's going to be faster than him, because Punk is going to be faster than Axel, of course. And that's what I think is going to happen. I don't think it's going to be for the IC belt. I just think they put a belt on because of the Father's Day thing and the first father-son duo to ever hold the Intercontinental Championship.
That's like the first father-son duo to hold the hardcore title. It really doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, but back then the IC belt meant something. Though.
Yeah, you know.
Like you said you were talking. Well, no, you were talking to Tito Santana on the Twitter show.
On
Twitter show. And you even asked him how he thinks since the prestige has gone away from the belt.
Yeah. He was actually very positive about it. But let's go right into our ratings for the week. Normally, if you guys watch, we do a ratings of 1 to 5. 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. A 1's a Cena, 2's a Big Show, 3's a Sheamus, 4's a Daniel Bryan, 5 is a CM Punk. I'll go, you know what? We did this one time before. I'm going to do it again. I'm bringing it back out.
You're bringing the HBK?
I'm going with 6. This was an HBK.
I have to go with you on that too, my friend. This has been one of the best wrestling shows of the year.
Next to the Monday night after WrestleMania, this is the best Raw of the year.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you had the questionable ending of Orton and Bryan was a little bit of a letdown just because they could have done so much better.
There's a reasoning behind it. So
Mark Henry was absolutely amazing. All the stuff with CM Punk was great. The AJ and Stephanie thing was great. I mean, the matches on the show were awesome. Coulter bringing out Cesaro as his new guy. It was amazing.
This show here didn't have a piss break, really, through the whole thing. This show here was making stars.
This is how a 3-hour Raw should be.
You got 3 hours.
Interesting.
Plus, even for me, Christian came back.
Oh yeah.
The Bryant Orton match was good until the stoppage, I believe.
Think about it like this. Christian, one of the great wrestlers of the last 15, 20 years, comes back, and he's not even a highlight on the show. I mean, that's how good the show was. Not knocking Christian at all.
Yeah, but like you said, it was that good of a show.
But basically, that's all I gotta say.
That's it for me, my friend.
My name is George Coles.
I'm Gary Rhodes.
And this has been Heel Heat.